Hey guys, Jackdaw here. Today I'm delving into full spoiler territory regarding Dragon Age Blue Wraith Issue 1, breaking down the major plot threads, characters and my overall thoughts on this new comic. So if you haven't had the chance to pick up the comic and you want to read the first issue for yourself, go give it a read and revisit this video. Alternatively, if you'd rather pass up the comics for whatever reason, you're in luck because I'm going to summarize all the important details in this video. So without further ado, let's break down Blue Wraith. The first character we're introduced to is Francesca Inividus, a Tevinter mage introduced as a contagonist in Dragon Age Deception. We see her at a younger age expressing her magical capabilities to her father and brother. She has a lot of plant-based, nature, magical abilities. As we can see, she's bringing back a flower to life. While Francesca's brother, Florian, is excited to see these abilities, her unimpressed, obnoxious father tells her she'd be better off as a daughter of the Help. As we know in the previous comics, Florian and their father were both members of the Venatori. Her brother would later go on to say that Francesca's naivety and lack of strategic thinking is the reason he and their father did not involve her with the Venatori. The next scene is also established in the past, just 4 years before in the Arlafan Forest, which is just outside of the city Ventus. And this is where we're introduced to Fenris. He and his elven comrade are attacking a Venatori envoy, leaving no survivors as they free elven slaves. As eponymous as the comic title, Fenris is now referred to as the Blue Wraith. When Fenris speaks to his elven friend, they discuss a Magister Nanelius who has an estate in the area. Nanelius is looking to train an elven peripety. Essentially, this is a special type of Tevinter slave specialized in killing rival mages. As we know in the current timeline, Magister Nanelius did succeed in training his own peripety as he trained Marius into a mage killer, hence the given comic book title. However, it was stated that Nanelius was looking for an elven peripety, not a human, so perhaps there could be more than just Marius. Skipping to the now current day in the story, we have a familiar face from Knight Errant's comic leading a caravan outside of the city Carastus, which has just been destroyed by the Qunari just like Ventus before that. This familiar fellow is Cedric Marquis, an Orlesian professor who was hired by Tevinter to steal Sebastian's book of Red Lyrium secrets in Knight Errant. However, in Blue Wraith, Marquis is back, having been hired for a Kirkwall job by House Denarius, but this time round he is now working for the Quintara house, recovering an ancient artifact. With that comes the most ominous question of this issue. What exactly is this artifact? Marquis claims that this artifact will grant unlimited power if used properly. Is this why the Qunari seek to destroy it? Because of its magical ability? Do they not want anyone else to get their hands on this? And what exactly is its origin? Is it Tevinter, Navaran, Qunari? I'd say we can assume it's probably of Tevinter origin, but judging by everything that is supposedly Tevinter, it could link back to elven origin. Regardless, it seems like it's some kind of weapon, and it is linked to the journal that Vaya gave to the Inquisition. However, even without that journal, Marquis was able to decipher it. Now, the biggest indicator we have to this artifact is that in issue 2's main cover, we have this frightening artwork of what I believe to be Calyx inside this artifact. Perhaps he's wielding its power, perhaps the power is being used against him, who knows. However, we don't have too long to wait for those revelations to come to light. It does seem pretty scary though, the power or the capabilities of what this artifact could do in the wrong hands. So as this caravan fleets from the Qunari, Sir Aaron, Vaya and surprisingly enough, Marius come to the rescue, slaughtering the Qunari forces unbeknownst to the caravan. Their plan is to follow this caravan as stealthily as possible as it makes its way to Castilium Tenebris. We learn that Sir Aaron's horse is named Cass, and as Vaya chases after a Qunari headed into a forest, we see Autumn following Calyx and Francesca joining the fight. And Andraste's exposed ass cheeks, this was the point where I was like, okay, I'm hooked, I love it. Each of these characters that we've learned about through the previous comics are now meeting each other and embarking on an epic, enigmatic quest, leading the narrative forward and giving us so much more lore to discover. Francesca, wielding her nature magic, destroys the rest of the Qunari fighters, proving that she has plenty to add to our band of ragtag misfits. As each member of the group bands together to plan their next course of action, everyone is surprised at how powerful Francesca is. Calix remarks that he's glad she's on our side. However, Francesca vehemently disagrees, exclaiming that she is not on his side. She tells Sir Aaron that this is not her mission and instead she will leave the group and ride for a place called Viridan. Veya argues with Calix about needing Francesca for firepower at Castilium Tenebris, so she decides to follow her, whereas the rest of the group continue to follow the wagon to Castilium Tenebris and take the stolen artifact. After an adorable decision on Autumn's part, the doggo decides to leave with Veya tracking Francesca. Fort Viridan is northwest of the Arlafan forest. As Veya catches up, Francesca reveals she's going here to meet her father, who will be staying at a Latan family loyal to her. We discover that Francesca's father has been taken by the Blue Wraith. Her wine is spilled accidentally by a slave, and we begin to see her disposition towards slavery in Tevinter. The slave master decides to hit the slave, but not before Francesca uses her magic to stop him. She is the new heir to the house Invidus, and she will not tolerate the abuse of slaves under her watch. After inquiring to the slave master about her father's capture, she sets out to save him, putting on new clothes and changing her hair. Veya sets out to find her father and the Blue Wraith with Francesca, using Autumn to track his scent. We discover that Veya's horse is called Darlen, however she doesn't know what that means, only that it sounded affectionate when her uncle used to call her that. Francesca shares that she didn't need Veya for Autumn's tracking ability, but actually because Veya is an elf, just like the Blue Wraith. She is the ideal candidate to talk down such a foe. There's a skepticism shared between Veya and Francesca about Francesca's father, because saving elven slaves is a good thing, yet Francesca is adamant in saving her dad. The two journey deeper into the forest as Veya makes a note of this Blue Wraith being somewhat of a friend of a friend. Clearly she's nodding to Varric. There's a dead body found later on by a tree stump with its heart ripped out of its chest. Fenris's signature move. As they investigate the body, Fenris reveals himself out of the shadows, saying that they have made a mistake coming here. And that is how this issue ends. And damn, what a cliffhanger to drop on, just when things were getting so tense. I thoroughly enjoyed this first issue. I don't want to say that I enjoyed it more than the previous first issues of the other comics, because I really enjoyed them all, but I really love how this one had me hooked literally just 2 pages in. I'm a huge fan of all of these characters coming together, with 2 key plot lines pushing ahead in this comic. It's not just following one storyline, but actually it's spread across 2 different narratives headed by very significant comic characters. But I've got to say, the Veya, Autumn and Francesca dynamic is what I liked the most. Of course, being a huge fan of Veya that I am, and her development throughout this one, and just getting more action with Veya, I absolutely love that. But also witnessing the growth of Francesca, someone who was a rather innocent Tevinter girl who is now becoming a badass with nature magic, embarking on this quest of confronting her father's kidnapper. So I'm very eager to see the developments of both of these narratives. Now that I'm already hooked and reeled into where the story is going, I've got a huge feeling that the next issue is going to focus more on Sir Aaron, Calix and Marius's quest to follow that caravan and capture the artifact, witnessing what this artifact could do and how it may lead the narrative astray. I would say the best thing about issue 1 of Blue Wraith and how it's different to the previous Dragon Age comics is how it splits the narrative between many of the characters. 1 minute we're witnessing a small segment of Sir Aaron, Veya and Marius fighting Qunari. Next minute we're seeing the recurring character Marquis and how he has stolen this artifact. And then we're skipping off into Veya, Autumn and Francesca delving into the Arlafan forest to find Fenris. I thoroughly enjoy how much it's segmented so that we get as many characters and stories as possible in this issue. And I'm sure that we'll see more of that in the further issues. So until the next issue, which comes out February 19th, let me know all your thoughts down below on issue 1, how much you enjoyed it, what you thought about the characters, what you thought about Fenris being set up in this comic book, and what do you think of Francesca, this newly introduced character since Dragon Age Deception, how she's developed into this nature magic badass. What do you think about her dynamic and her going forward? Let me know all that down below. But until the next one, I've been Jackdaw. Make sure you check out my Patreon, blog, links in the description. I now have a Facebook page that you can like and follow if you wish. But until the next one, I should go. Whoa.